Hello, everyone. Welcome to American Scouser's pre-match show, midweek game. So everybody is running around, but hopefully we will get some contributions from the contributors connecting via phone and mobile, what have you, and take a look at this lineup and see what we're predicting. Quite a unique lineup, really. I think most of us predicted majority of it. But there are some surprises along the way, so we'll definitely take a look at those, and hopefully, get your guys' input as well in terms of like, do you like what you see out there in terms of the starting 11 and the amount of rotation, and more importantly, what do you expect to see out of this? And I think there's some players on there that will be interesting to see how they perform. And I would love to hear like who you guys will be closely watching this game, because there's quite a few names out there I think that we have to take a look at. So let's take a look at the starting 11 right here. I think Keller will be in gold. In the back line, I think none of us saw Trent starting this game. But I think most of us expected like maybe Gomez on the right. A lot of guesses was like Kwanzaa playing with Matip in the middle. I don't know what it tells us. Chambers on the left hand side. I think he was like, I thought we would not be ready for this game. So interesting to see him out there. But yeah, that back four, I don't know how much confidence we get seeing that, mainly due to the amounts they've played together. I think more than anything else, right? I think Matip has been informed. I expect Gomez probably to be on the left hand side rather than Matip. And obviously Chambers on left, Arnold on right. I think midfield for the most part we got it right when in our like shows when we were like looking ahead to this game. So Endo starts at 6, and I know we'll definitely talk about a lot about that because I think we're all kind of looking to see like how he performs and what we have as a number 6 for him. And then Jones, obviously, since he's starting the band in the league, we kind of like it was almost like a guarantee that he would start. And we kind of said Gravenberg or Elliott based on if Mo is playing or not. So obviously, since Mo is not starting, it's Elliott's on the right hand side for Mo, and we have in return we have Elliott starting in midfield on the right wing, Gravenberch in midfield. Ryan says, "Good day, like the lineup. Would have Gomez at right back, Kwanzaa center back," and that's what we kind of expected, right? We wanted to kind of see that. Brian says, "Happy to see Chambers get a run out." I think so too. I mean, if he was going to be available, I think I would have. I agree with Ryan. I think I would have thought we would have Gomez our right back and have Kwanzaa and Matip as the center backs. Saidu does not like this team selection. Saidu's never happy. Saidu, why don't you like this? I mean, hey, could it be stronger? Yes. But I mean, I think this is good rotation, and exactly like I agree with Jamie, a lot of chances for Last to get minutes. And I think these guys need minutes. We kind of like go unfair on some of these players where if we want someone to do well, or if we think they're going to do well, we kind of like get this line out where we say, oh, they're going to be, they need a run of games. Well, these guys need minutes as well. So it will be interesting to see, to get them opportunities like Chambers. I mean, obviously, Endo, Gravenberg starting. Elliott's our right wing is going to be interesting to see. I know we were talking in our Discord channel, and Harry expected them more to be like playing more inside and almost playing almost like a 4-4-2-ish. But let's see how that goes right there. Gordon says, key to win here, wrap this group stage up. Tight to focus on the grueling league winter. And I think so too. But let's face it, I mean, this is pretty solid rotation here. I mean, you have, I would argue, out of your ideal starting lineup, right? You have Trent in there. You can maybe argue Jones or Gravenberg, not both of them, to be in your starting 11. I'm still more of a firm believer in Gakpo starting in the middle. So it almost feels like this is the rotation. I think even if we're guaranteed and we're going into a game saying like, oh, we don't care what happens, I think this is a similar lineup that we're going to end up seeing. And yeah, Jamie says beat him again in France and we top the group. And I think that's the thing. I mean, we'll definitely, let's actually take a look at that as well. I'll throw it on the screen over here. But in terms of like the standings, yeah, this is kind of like, I mean, I don't know if we have any competition in this group in that sense, but it is in terms of like teams that will kind of like maybe give us more of a run and not let us guarantee it, I guess, if you will. This is probably like one team right here. So winning this game by itself goes a long way. And honestly, we don't even have to win, because I think, when you go to France, you could be done with a draw. And what we got, this is what we bet club to do, 4 years with rotation. I'm happy, and I agree with that. Here we go. Rotation is good playing Ando Jones, and there's no playmaker here. Really? I mean, I honestly feel like Jones and Gravenberch. Jones has toned down his game. We'll probably talk a lot about this tomorrow morning as well, but I kind of like rewatched the press conferences and listened to a lot of what Curtis was saying, and I thought, you know, a lot of good stuff, a lot of stuff that I really liked hearing, including his game, his developments, and what he sees and what he thinks moving forward. And I think he will be key this game, what he does in midfield. But I think you have Gravenberch, I mean, you have Jota, you have Nunez, you have Elliott. You do have attacking force. And I think with Gravenberch and Elliott and stuff, I think there is a lot of lineup. Fascinating lineup, says Harry. He's our tactical guru. Fully expecting to see Elliott play more inside, Jota and Nunes play like a strike partnership, and with from full backs could be really fun. I think so too, right? I mean, I think, we will see a lot more. I'm hoping, at least, because I've been saying this for weeks, I'm hoping a lot more of like we see Trent using the right back position a lot more and pushing forward. So we'll see if that does happen. Brian says, honestly, there's a lot to like about this lineup. It's a good mix of youth and experience. Also give minutes to those who need it. And Endo is obviously like one of them. Let me ask you guys this, as like people gather in the audience over here. Who are you guys watching? I mean, when you see this lineup, because there's like Jamie was mentioning it earlier, there's a lot of names where you're like, kind of like almost can put the spotlight on them and kind of like watch them move around and see how they do. So I think, I mean, for me, it's Endo, and he has been that name, because I think we keep talking about, moving McAllister's natural position. And the only way right now we can do that is with a 6, who is a 6, plays like a 6, acts like a 6, and that's Endo. But really depends on his performances. And we kind of talked about this on the yesterday's morning show, where it's probably unfair on him that I almost called him a kid. He's not really a kid. Even I can barely call him a kid. So, but it's literally a little unfair on him on these games on Thursdays, because he is playing with a makeshift back line behind him, right? And usually a makeshift midfield. Like, this is a midfield that I don't know if they ever played together before. I can't recall in terms of like a starting 11 with this trio. But will they? I mean, if he plays well, you're gonna, a lot of people will say, especially if they're looking to criticize, they're going to say, well, it's against Toulouse and stuff like that. If he does play poorly, people will probably harp on him, and we won't say, hey, like, look at the people around him though and stuff. So it's almost like a lose-lose and a win-win at the same time for him. But I will still be watching certain things that will, winning the ball, how physical he can be in midfield. I think those are the question marks I have, and the pace of the game. I really, really like what I've seen from him in terms of what he does with the ball immediately after winning it, because he does use it well. He does get people back in attack. So I do want to see more of that, but I want to see some physicality and kind of like, I don't know, bossing that midfield, if you will, like the way he plays physically. Because a lot of like the stuff we get on him is the fact that, he's slow to react and he gets beat up, like, like he can't win the air balls and stuff like that. Gordo says, always watching Klopp in these midweeks, who he moves in and out, and when he moves them, says a lot about the weekend plans and also how he feels about the opponents. And that's interesting to see. Like, I mean, if you ask Klopp, he's going to say we play, every game to win it and stuff like that. And I'm sure that is the mentality. I'm not debating that. But you would think in the back of the mind, it's always, playing a little bit of chess too, right? Like thinking about the steps ahead. So based on that, I would assume like people like Mo and stuff like that, there are set times. If they're going to be playing, there are set times where they will come in and play. So you're like, hey, you got 60 minutes, you got 45 minutes kind of a deal. And there is, I mean, going back to the lineup over here, there is a lot of people that we can, knowing him, and I agree with Gordo on this, having watch Klopp in action over time, you have seen him a lot of, playing the guy for the last 20 minutes who's going to play the weekend. So I do expect to see, Saboslai, McAllister, Diaz, Mo, these guys coming in. And I will be interested to see if Gakpo is going to come in today, actually, probably in terms of subs and seeing minutes, going back to what Gordo was saying, to see, if we're going to get Gakpo over the weekend. I think today would be a good sign. If we see him out there for 20, 30 minutes, you might see Gakpo start in the weekend. If you're only seeing him for 10, probably Gakpo is on the bench again. So it does say, like Gordo was saying, a lot about the weekend lineup. Jamie is going with 3-0 Reds. That's pretty confident. But Jamie's always the optimist, and that's, he's the anti-Timuchin, if you will. And I do like that. That would make me a lot more comfortable in watching. I just don't know if this makeshift back line will leak something through, like a miscommunication or something like that. I'd be afraid of that. That's what I worry about, having a clean sheet in this game. I do think we will get goals. I think the goals are going to be there, especially with like Jota and Nunez in there. And behind them, despite what Silas says, I really think there's like you have two players, and if you put Elliott cutting in, like Harry is saying, you have three players over there that can come from midfield from the next tier and cause hell and create stuff and basically be able to score. So there's a lot of firepower in there, despite, you look at the bench, and hey, these are great problems to have, man. These are problems we did not have before in the last 2 or 3 seasons. But you look at that bench, and you have Diaz and Gakpo and Mo, who can possibly come in off the bench as firepower. If what you have is not enough, yeah, that's quite a luxury, and that's great to have. I'll be very interested in see Gakpo. I don't know if I want to see Diaz or Mo. I think we will, because like I say, I think there will be something in there. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I know Galley's trying to connect, but phone connection is not always the best, and people have this thing called jobs and stuff. Not that I don't, mind you, but advantages of working from home. The biggest advantage of working from home over the last 5-6 years or so has been not missing a Liverpool game, midweek, weekend, you name it. You can kind of like make your own schedule. So yeah, let me give you. So who will you guys be watching? I know Gordo said Klopp. In terms of players, who are you guys looking to see a performance out of? Brian says, plus there will be fresh legs this Sunday, and I agree. I think, because when these guys come in and play 20 minutes and stuff, they would do something after post-match anyway, so it's kind of like offsets that, as long as obviously there's no like an injury mid-game as they're playing it. Instead of putting miles on the legs and stuff like that, I think that's like the way to go. Ryan says Harvey, and I think that's like an interesting pick, because and I think it's a good pick, especially if he plays exactly like if we're keeping the same lineup formation wise and we're playing him in the Mo role, because during the African Cup, will we see Elliott there a lot more of? And I think, I know Van Dijk is injured, but Elliott is a lot more comfortable and a lot used to the system. So if Elliott performs over there, he will definitely be the choice over Van Dijk in a game during the Africa Cup and the Premier League and stuff like that. So it is like kind of like a good thing to keep an eye on to see, A, does he play in exactly a replacement to Mo, and B, how well he does there out wide. His lack of speed compared to Mo is always an issue, but I think his ability to cut in and create and kind of like, create space for others to overlap, especially if we play Trent on the right back position, which I hope we do. I think that enables Trent. I think Harvey was talking about it earlier, be able to kind of like bomb forward a lot more and do what he does best. That's when he's at his best. Galley is struggling with the phone over there. But aside from that, the forwards, the other two, Jota and Nunez. I know most of us thought Mo would start, and I know that was because we were kind of putting Elliott in midfield, so there was nobody else left because Van Dijk is not available. That could be a part, I guess. That was my thinking, at least, when thinking like Mo would start, and eventually, you would get somebody else in over there to play like the right wing. Jota and Nunez together will be interesting. I will be interested to see. We had talked about this before. I think we were talking about the Monday night podcast with Galley and Bickler. I will be interested to see who's on the left side. And honestly, if it was up to me, I would rather have Nunez on the left and Jota in the middle. But I have a feeling we go Jota on the left hand side and Nunez in the middle. I mean, that's one thing to keep an eye out over there, because if we're gonna get Nunez more minutes as well, I think that kind of like definitely gives an opportunity. Gally has given up on the phone, so he's back to commenting. Yeah, two up top. I think that's what Harry was going with as well. Ryan says Jota in the middle for sure. I don't know if you mean that as a preference, Ryan, or you think that's what Klopp would do? Because if we're going three up top, I think Jota is going to be on the left hand side. Is the feeling I have. Not what I want, but that's the feeling I have in terms of how we're going to go out over there. I can see. I don't expect to see it. I know Gally's saying it, and I know like Harvey was mentioning it earlier, that we might see a slightly different formation and like almost a play with like a 3-5-2 or a 4-4-2 kind of an ordeal. I don't think so. And honestly, in some ways, I don't know if I want to. I know Elliot is not on like an even swap in terms of skill set for Mo, but this is something we do have to plan for. I don't know how many games exactly will end up being. Obviously, depends on how far Egypt goes too. But usually they do go very far in this tournament. So you will have Mo out of action for a while. So maybe this is a good chance to see what we have there and what Elliot can do. Down the road, we would do something different, maybe play Diaz there and stuff on those, but you will still need rotation. So you need still somebody over there, especially with Van Dijk being out. And I mean, I don't know, in a Premier League game, this is like an interesting thing to discuss, I guess. And we'll probably, as we see more of Elliot today, we'll probably, like, I'm sure the boys will talk about it in the post match on the Thursday podcast tonight. And, we'll talk about it tomorrow morning as well. In a Premier League game during like the African Cup, do we want to see a Bandok out there who probably has a skill set more similar to Mo and has the speed and stuff we want on the wing? Or do we want to see a player like Elliott where he might not have like the top speed and stuff, but he's more familiar with the system? I mean, I kind of felt bad for Elliott last time around, when he was the only one out there, like running around, like saying, like, this is not how any of this works, as people were like all over the place. He was the only one still trying to play within the system, it felt like. So I kind of trust that with Elliott a bit more, I think, but it'll be interesting to see, what to take his all. Ryan says, I would like to see Harvey as a winger. I want to see what he can bring to the position. And I'm on the same boat. And I think this is a great game for that. And it's not ideal use of him perhaps, and probably is not. So I think that's why, like Gally and maybe Harry are like thinking that's not what we will do. But in some ways, I want to see how it's going to turn out. I mean, we play like Ox on the wing and stuff, and so let's see what Harvey can do. I think he'll be a lot better pressing. He'll bring a lot of energy. Sprotsly with his bogus links has now been booted. So yeah, do not come to the chat with bonus links, because we're just not going to have that. So that's not what we do. We do this. We just yak. So let's get some predictions from you guys. What do you guys expect to see in terms of a scoreline, having seen this lineup? And having seen the bench at the same time, too, I think, we see a lot of potential to affect the game if things are not going our way. I'm hoping for a better start than we did against like Lask, for example, and kind of like almost like put this game away early. And I don't only mean in terms of like score line, but in terms of like control the game early. I think if you control this game, and we were a little bit all over the place, I think, when we played against Lask. And, it's always going to happen. I mean, look at the back line over there, back four. I highly doubt that back four has ever played together. So you're going to have some disconnect. You're going to have some issues. But I really think we will be successful going forward. And I think we will get those goals. And I'm hoping if we get a couple of those early, it will be like I'm hoping for an open game. I don't see Toulouse as a game who's going to park the bus. But we will see. Chris is going with Gally's going with the Timuchin special over there with the 3-1. I had to bump that up to 4-1, making my own new special. Buy one Timuchin, get a goal free, 4-1. I really think there will be a lot of goals this game. I hope Nunez and Jota especially get those goals for like confidence purposes. And really, I hope that midfield has a solid game. Listening to Jones, in like that pre-match like I was referencing earlier. I hope he has like a solid game, continues his what he was doing before that stupid red card. And I really liked how he kind of approached that red card too and kind of like moved on, and I did not want to talk about it much. But I'm like Endo. Uh, I'm hoping we see a lot from him. That kind of makes us feel a bit more comfortable and not as jumpy, I guess, about this number six position we have overall. Ryan is going with 2-0, but doesn't feel that close. Yeah, I can go with that. But I do want, especially for confidence purposes, I do want this front line to get some goals. It will be interesting to see if we get an early lead, how Toulouse responds to. Do they open up further and chase the game, or do they do damage control and say, hey, let's not screw, everybody who comes to Anfield is probably going to lose. Let's not lose brutally and lose on edge when it comes to goal difference. So that will be something interesting to see. But I'll let everybody head on over to their TVs, laptops, wherever you're watching the game, get all settled in. Thank you for keeping me company today. The boys will be back tonight on the Thursday night podcast, and our fantasy nerds will be on right after Gali and Matush giving you guys fantasy tips for this weekend. I will be back with the Friday gang tomorrow morning. So I will see you guys then. Enjoy the game, and let's hope we get an easy, comfortable win that we don't stress over. So have a great